television, the dish, listening to radio, or keeping these things at home for the purpose of listening to news and watching good things, how Islamic is that? Well, one has to know one's own limits, one's own abilities. If one finds you buy a television, your intention is just to watch the news. Then, after you watch the news, you find yourself flipping the channel just to see what else is on the television. Maybe the first time you flip it, you see something, oh, great, I shouldn't be watching that, so you flip on by and turn it off. Next time you turn to watch the news, you do again flipping. You see that, you watch it a little longer, then you say, no, I really shouldn't be watching that. You turn it off. The third time, again, you're watching the news, then you flip the channel, you find something else. You watch it a little longer still yet. Then you tell yourself, no. Eventually, you'll find yourself watching, and then you're watching these programs you shouldn't be watching. So, if you find this is what is happening to you, then better not to have the television in your home. You know, why put yourself in a situation where you're tempted? But if you are mature Islamically, your Islam is solid, and you're only watching news programs, you know, taking the Discovery Channel from the dish, you know, or CNN, BBC, you know, where you're just limiting the information coming in to that which is halal, or the radio to that which is acceptable. If you do have that kind of control, you don't find yourself falling into watching forbidden things, because the temptation becomes very great. If you are able to control yourself, then it's permissible to do so to that degree, right? But again, one needs to consider the circumstance. If one introduces this into one's home, for example, if you have children, I mean, of course, the brother who wrote it, he said he's unmarried, so it's not the case. But if we look at this question on a wider scale, if we have children in our home, you know, and we're not always there to monitor the children, so the children do spend time in front of the television and they flip the channels, then we're also exposing them unnecessarily to corruption. You know, if we have the television under tight control, so whenever we turn, it's only turned on when we allow it to be turned on, whenever we monitor very strictly what is watched, you know, then we can say, yes, it is something permissible. The fourth question: if one has a bad habit like listening to music, mostly folk songs, country songs, etc., what is your advice for him giving up this bad habit? The best advice is to get more deeply into the Quran. You know, the soul, the human soul, desires some kind of musical entertainment. It's a part of the nature of the soul. Well, there's music in the Quran. Listen to that. You know, learn the proper recitation of the Quran and listen to the recitation along with the meanings. You know, this is something which can replace in the heart the spot which is filled by country music or whatever other kinds of music that we're watching. So always we try to find a replacement, you know, something which is from the halal, which can take the place of the haram. Because of course, whether you're talking about folk songs or country songs or whatever, I mean, these songs, because they involve musical instruments, and oftentimes they're involved singing about corrupt things, and those types of programs we have to avoid. Brother closes, I pray, may Allah bless you and give you a reward in this world and in the hereafter. Please remember me while praying and make dua that I die having Iman. May Allah take your life having Iman. The next question that we have is something of a philosophical question. It is one coming from England. Dear Dr. Bilal, I have a few questions which have been bothering me for some time now. Could you please help me in understanding them? The first is that nothing happens without Allah's command. I converted to Islam. It was because Allah knew and wanted me to convert. But what about my parents? Why doesn't Allah want them to convert? Why do they have to go to hell? This is a question which, of course, for somebody who converts to Islam, it's something which oftentimes bothers us. When we think of our family members, our grandparents and great-grandparents, how they died in a state of disbelief, which means basically that they're headed for hell in general, for people who die in a state of disbelief. It sometimes hurts, and one wonders, why? Why is it like this? Well, the point is that you converted to Islam because Allah gave you an opportunity to convert, and because you had a desire for the truth, you were seeking. There was some openness there. So Allah rewarded that with the necessary information and the opportunity, and you accepted Islam. Now your parents, maybe they came across Islam also, but their minds were closed. They weren't interested. They were having too much of a good time or whatever. I mean, we really don't know what were the circumstances of our relatives or our parents' lives to be able to judge, was Allah fair here? Why didn't he do this or why didn't he do that? These things are so complicated, it's very difficult for us to make these kind of judgments. And ultimately, if the word of Islam has not reached our relatives in a proper form, in a way in which they can see what real Islam is, but it came to them only in a distorted form of terrorism and, Muslims portrayed as bloodthirsty, head-chopping, hand-cutting, maniacs. This kind of image, if this is all that they heard of Islam, then such a person is not, held to account. Allah will give them an opportunity to believe. As Allah said, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We did not, punish anyone. We will not punish anyone until a messenger has been sent to them. And in an authentic narration, Prophet ﷺ said that those people to whom the message didn't reach, and those people between the periods of the prophets, that they will be raised up before the final judgment, and a messenger from Allah would be sent to them, in which he would call them to the worship of Allah. Those who obeyed him would go on to paradise, and those who didn't would go to hell. So everybody does have a chance to make that decision, to make that choice. So when we look at individuals who die, we're not really at liberty to say such and such an individual is going to hell, because we don't know. Did the message reach them as it, in its proper form, and they had a chance to make a proper choice, or will they be among those who will get that chance before the final resurrection? We don't know that, so we really can't specify an individual such as individual is going to hell specifically. In general, those who hold these beliefs, those who die in this state without repentance, etc., who have no excuses, then of course such people will go to hell. But those people whose circumstances may have, made them unable to get the message properly, or they didn't have access to information, etc., then Allah is most just. This is what we have to believe, that Allah is most just and most fair. He's not going to deal unfairly with our parents and our relatives. We just have to believe that. With that, dear viewers, I'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, In the Light of Islam. We hope to see you in coming segments. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.